There is a place on this planet where the world ends and legends begin. A place where isolation sits on a throne of ice, and the wind whispers the secrets of millions of years. It is not merely a continent, it is the final threshold of human challenge, the frigid vault for Earth's deepest mysteries. We are talking about Antarctica. Imagine a journey across the raging Southern Ocean, those merciless waters where waves crash as high as skyscrapers and the horizon plunges into a freezing gray. For centuries, Antarctica was nothing more than an invisible white edge on maps, a mere concept of Terra Australis Incognita, the unknown southern land, which no one dared to reach. It was a philosophical idea before it was a geographical reality, a necessary myth for the balance of the ancient world, an opposing continent to counterbalance the northern landmasses. This icy barrier, known as the ice ocean, serves as Antarctica's first line of defense. It stretches for hundreds of miles, a dynamic chaos of fractured icebergs and slow-floating ice sheets. It is a neutral zone where the ships of the first explorers would halt, realizing that what they had seen so far was only a prelude to what awaited them. And when the first icebergs begin to appear, those colossal natural sculptures floating like cities of blue crystal, the true sense of dread begins. Antarctica is not just land covered by ice. It is a full-fledged continent, the fifth largest in the world, covering about 14 million square kilometers, nearly twice the size of Australia, or larger than Europe. But its sheer size pales in comparison to its thickness. You stand on what is in reality the tip of a colossal iceberg, averaging about 1.9 kilometers in depth. Imagine a city buried beneath that snowy mantle. In some places, such as the East Antarctic Plateau, the ice can be as thick as 4.7 kilometers, meaning the actual surface of the continent lies below sea level at those points. This ice is not just a frozen mass of water, it is a unique temporal archive. Every layer of compacted snow, every trapped air bubble, is a page in the book of Earth's climate and biological history, spanning millions of years. When scientists drill into this ice, they are drilling into the planet's deep past. The winds in Antarctica are not mere breezes. They are a destructive natural force known as katabatic winds. These winds form when air cools intensely over the high, icy plateau, increasing in density, and then rushes down toward the coasts due to gravity, accelerating to incredible speeds that often exceed 200 kilometers per hour. Imagine this, a wind capable of pushing a car, acting as a natural weapon that protects the continent from any unwelcome invasion. These winds are the reason Antarctica is the coldest, driest, and windiest continent on Earth. As for the dryness, paradoxically, this continent, which holds about 90% of the world's ice, is technically a desert. The annual precipitation in some of its inner regions, known as the dry valleys, is less than 50 millimeters. These are areas that rarely see snow, a result of the katabatic winds causing moisture to sublimate, creating landscapes that closely resemble the surface of Mars, which is why scientists use them to test their space equipment. In this extreme landscape, where colors are confined to the brilliant white and the deep blue of the ice, humans were bound to come. The modern story of Antarctica began in the early 19th century when the first explorers, such as the Russian Fabian Gottlieb von Bellinghausen and the Briton Edward Bransfield. In this extreme landscape, where colors are confined to the brilliant white and the deep blue of the ice, humans were bound to come. The modern story of Antarctica began in the early 19th century when the first explorers, such as the Russian Fabian Gottlieb von Bellinghausen and the Briton Edward Bransfield, began to sight the coastlines. But the harsh truth is that the motivation for discovery was not so much science as greed. In the 19th century, the continent was known as seal land, and marine resources, especially seal fur and whale oil, were the magnets that drew the hunters. It was a bloody and tragic period where vast numbers of seals and whales were slaughtered near the coasts before an international ban was finally imposed. But the real epic began in the heroic age of Antarctic exploration, a period extending from the late 19th century to 1922. This was a time of incredible adventures, supreme sacrifices, and an indomitable human spirit. The names that emerged during this period, such as Robert Falcon Scott, Ernest Shackleton, and Roald Amundsen, became symbols of human determination against a brutal nature. The most important event of this era was the race to the geographic South Pole. The South Pole, the 0 point on the planet, where all lines of longitude meet and where all directions point north, was the holy grail for explorers. The most notable rivalry was between the Norwegian Roald Amundsen and the British Robert Falcon Scott. Amundsen truly understood the nature of Antarctica. He learned from indigenous peoples and trained in Arctic regions. He relied on dog sleds and loose-fitting animal fur clothing, a technique proven effective over centuries. In contrast, Scott relied on Siberian ponies and motor sleds that quickly broke down in the bitter cold, choices driven by the spirit of the Victorian age rather than the practical reality of the polar environment. Amundsen's journey was a triumph of meticulous planning and polar expertise. He reached the South Pole on December 14, 1911, planted the Norwegian flag, and returned safely.
Scott and his companions reached the pole on January 17, 1912, only to find Amundsen's tent and flag, a sign that they had arrived too late. The return journey was a tragedy as they faced unprecedented blizzards, their supplies ran low, and they all perished just a few miles from a critical supply depot. Scott and his comrades left poignant messages that became a symbol of sacrifice for science and exploration.
But the most compelling story, one that touches upon the mysterious, is that of Ernest Shackleton. In 1914, Shackleton's Imperial Trans-Antarctic expedition set out with the goal of crossing the continent for the first time. But their ship, the Endurance, was trapped and crushed by the sea ice in the Weddell Sea. What followed is not just a survival story, but a study in human leadership and endurance that defies logic. For a year and a half, Shackleton and his men lived on the ice before he decided the only option was to sail their small lifeboats to Elephant Island. From there, realizing the island was beyond rescue, he decided to risk his life, along with 5 men, on an epic voyage in a tiny open fishing boat, about 7 meters long, across 800 miles of the world's roughest ocean to reach a whaling station on South Georgia Island. They succeeded, and ultimately, Shackleton saved every man in his crew. It is the story that proved the ultimate goal was not reaching the pole, but returning safely with all your companions.
These tales are not just old adventures. They are the foundation of everything we know about the continent today and every attempt to breach its secrets. Because beneath this eternal ice lie not only tales of despair and sacrifice, but scientific truths that change our understanding of planet Earth. The history of the land beneath the ice. When scientists delve beneath the surface, they encounter the ancient mother continent, Gondwana. Antarctica was once part of this supercontinent, situated in a much warmer position. It was not frozen, but home to rainforests, living organisms, and megafauna. Fossils of giant ferns, amphibians, and even dinosaurs have been found. In fact, if you were to remove the entire ice sheet, you would discover a network of mountains and ranges, including the Ellsworth Mountains, the highest range on the continent. These mountains separate West Antarctica from East Antarctica. West Antarctica is essentially an archipelago, a collection of small islands connected by ice. East Antarctica is the ancient, massive continental block that makes up most of the continent.
The most important feature contained within this continent is the system of subglacial lakes. The largest and most famous among them is Lake Vostok. This lake lies beneath about 4 kilometers of ice and has been isolated from the outside world for an estimated 15 million years. This extreme isolation means the lake could contain unique life forms that have never seen sunlight or free air. The lake was discovered in the 1970s through satellite imagery and radar surveys. The fact that liquid water exists beneath such an immense amount of ice is due to 2 main reasons. First is the immense pressure of the ice, which lowers the freezing point of water. The second reason is geothermal heat coming from Earth's interior. When Russian teams successfully drilled through the ice and reached these isolated waters, it was a historic moment. The goal was to understand how life can evolve in extremely harsh conditions, questions that can aid us in the search for life on the icy moons of Jupiter and Saturn, such as Europa and Enceladus. Finding even simple life forms in Vostok could redefine our understanding of what is possible in the universe.
These lakes are not alone. There are hundreds of them, forming a complex hydrological network beneath the ice, like an inverted river system, where immense pressure and temperatures drive the movement of this water. This movement has enormous implications for the stability of the entire ice sheet and its contribution to global sea level rise.
But Antarctica does not stop at geography and heroic history. It is a continent governed by international law, a unique model of human cooperation not replicated anywhere else. In 1959, 12 nations, including the United States and the Soviet Union, signed the Antarctic Treaty. This treaty is one of the most significant international documents determining the fate of the entire continent. The treaty rests on three foundational principles. Absolute peacefulness. The continent must be used exclusively for peaceful purposes. Any military activity, including the establishment of bases, military maneuvers, and nuclear weapons testing, is prohibited. This treaty has made Antarctica the largest demilitarized zone in the world. Scientific freedom. The treaty guarantees the freedom of scientific research and international cooperation. Data and results are exchanged freely, turning competition into collaboration. Claim freeze. The treaty neither recognizes nor rejects any prior territorial claims. 7 nations, Argentina, Australia, Chile, France, New Zealand, Norway, and the United Kingdom, have laid claims to parts of the continent, but the treaty puts them all into suspended animation. The importance of this treaty lies not just in protecting the continent, but in providing a model for cooperation between great powers during the height of the Cold War. Antarctica served as a geopolitical laboratory where scientific rivalry was the only acceptable form of competition. But the most crucial provision for the future was the 1991 Madrid Protocol, the environmental annex to the treaty. This protocol prohibits any activity related to mining and the search for mineral resources in Antarctica for at least 50 years. This is unprecedented protection for any continent, effectively making it a natural reserve devoted to peace and scientific research. The dark and radiant life.
Despite the harsh conditions, Antarctica is not completely barren. It is home to an incredible array of organisms adapted to its extreme environment. But life here is not primarily on the land, it is in the ocean. The Southern Ocean, which encircles the continent, is one of the most productive ecosystems in the world. At the center of this system stands a small yet immense creature, krill, a type of small crustacean resembling shrimp. Krill is the backbone of Antarctic life. It consumes the algae and phytoplankton that grow in the cold, nutrient-rich waters, and then everything else consumes it: penguins, seals, whales, and seabirds. The biomass of krill in the Southern Ocean is unimaginable, considered one of the largest living masses of a multicellular animal on Earth. Whales, which were on the brink of extinction due to overhunting in the last century, are slowly recovering thanks to the treaty's protection. Imagine the sight of the blue whale, the largest animal on Earth, feeding on vast quantities of krill in the cold waters, or the humpback whale breaching the surface in a spectacular display of power and size.
Penguins are the iconic symbol of Antarctica. There are various species, but the most prominent is the emperor penguin. These creatures are the most adapted to the extreme cold. Imagine the scene of the males gathering in enormous clusters, known as huddles, to protect their eggs during the darkest and coldest months of winter. The father stands firm for 2 full months, without food, protecting the egg nestled on his feet and covered by a special skin fold called the brood pouch. It is a sacrifice for survival, and one of the most moving and astonishing sights in the animal kingdom. These birds do not fly. They are expert swimmers and masters of survival in an unforgiving white world. Why does Antarctica matter to us?
Ultimately, Antarctica matters to us not for its brutal beauty or heroic history, but because it plays a critical role in the global climate system. It is considered the world's refrigerator, primarily responsible for regulating global ocean temperatures and atmospheric currents. One of the key phenomena is the Antarctic Circumpolar Current. This current is the strongest in the world, flowing completely around the continent, isolating it from warmer northern waters. This isolation is what has allowed the ice to accumulate and maintain the continent's frigidity, thus regulating the world's climate. But what is happening today is that this refrigerator is beginning to show signs of failure. Climate change and global warming are directly impacting Antarctica, especially the West Antarctic ice sheet. This ice sheet is grounded on a seabed that lies below sea level, making it particularly vulnerable to melting from below due to the intrusion of warmer ocean waters. If this ice sheet were to melt entirely, it could raise global sea levels by 3 to 5 meters, inundating major coastal cities worldwide. Studying Antarctica today is no longer a luxury, it is a necessity. Every research station, every scientist studying ice layers or drilling into its lakes is working to decode the planet's future. They are studying how the Earth was in the past and how it will be in the near future. There are many secrets yet to be discovered. What life forms inhabit the eternal darkness of Lake Vostok? What geological secrets are hidden by the mountains stretching beneath thousands of meters of ice? And how will marine life, especially krill, respond to ocean acidification and rising temperatures? These are the questions driving science today.
Antarctica is the place where nature at its most extreme meets human ambition. It invites us to reflect on our place in this universe and how insignificant we are before the immense power of nature. In this eternal white, there is nowhere to hide. When the sun sets for 6 months, when temperatures drop below 70 degrees Celsius below zero, and when gale force winds make standing impossible, every decision humans make becomes a matter of life and death. It is the continent that strips humanity of every false veneer of civilization, leaving us exposed to our true selves in the ultimate test of our resilience and cooperation. But this is just the beginning, the darker side of the ice. Now, let us turn our attention to the shadows that stretch beneath the permanent daylight and the eternal night. For a continent dedicated to peace and science, Antarctica has always attracted stories of the forbidden, the secretive, and the outright bizarre. Many of these narratives revolve around a concept that challenges the very treaty that governs the land, the possibility of hidden military bases, suggesting that the continent is not just a scientific outpost, but a strategic fortress.
The most persistent and intriguing of these rumors centers on Nazi activity in Antarctica. This story is not entirely without foundation, but its embellishment into a full-blown conspiracy is where the mystery lies. In 1938-1939, before the outbreak of World War II, Nazi Germany launched the New Swabia expedition. A vessel, the Schwabenland, traversed the Atlantic and mapped a vast area of the continent's interior, dropping metallic swastika flags from seaplanes to assert territorial claims. The official goal was whaling, a strategic resource, but the sheer scope and secrecy of the mapping operation fueled speculation for decades. The conspiracy theory, which grew most notably after the war, suggests that the Nazis did not merely survey the land, they established a massive, technologically advanced, and secret underground base, often referred to as Base 211 or Neuschwabenland. This base, the legend claims, was designed as a hidden retreat for the Third Reich's elite, utilizing geothermal vents, which are known to exist in parts of West Antarctica, to create a warm, habitable underground environment. The most fantastical additions to this narrative include claims that the base housed secret weapons programs, flying saucers, UFOs, and even the post-war escape of high-ranking Nazi officials, including Hitler himself, who supposedly used U-boats to transport their technology and personnel. What lends a strange layer of credence to the persistent belief in secret operations is the famous Operation High Jump. Launched by the United States Navy in 1946-1947, immediately following the war, it was the largest Antarctic expedition ever assembled. Led by the celebrated polar explorer Admiral Richard E. Byrd, the task force was massive, over 4,700 personnel, 13 ships, and numerous aircraft. Officially, the mission was to train personnel and test equipment in extreme cold weather conditions. However, the scale and the sheer military nature of the deployment, which included an aircraft carrier, destroyers, and submarines, seemed disproportionate for a simple training exercise.
Conspiracy theories allege that the true purpose of Operation High Jump was to hunt down and eliminate the remaining Nazi presence in Base 211. According to these unsubstantiated accounts, Byrd's forces encountered fierce resistance from advanced Nazi flying craft, the alleged UFOs, forcing the mission to be aborted abruptly with heavy yet undisclosed casualties. While historical records indicate the expedition ended prematurely due to harsh weather and logistical challenges, the official narrative's brevity only serves to fuel the public's imagination about a secret polar war. Admiral Byrd's own enigmatic comments to a Chilean newspaper upon his return, hinting at a new enemy that could fly from pole to pole at incredible speeds, are frequently cited by proponents of the conspiracy.
This leads us to the geopolitical significance of the ice. The Antarctic Treaty, while an agreement for peace, is a direct acknowledgement of the continent's strategic value. Beyond oil and minerals, which are theoretically banned, Antarctica is the key to global climate control and is a critical location for high-level surveillance and signals intelligence. The presence of numerous scientific bases, many of which are vast permanent structures, has long been seen by some as a thinly veiled military or intelligence footprint. Consider the various deep drilling projects. While officially for climate research, they involve technology capable of penetrating kilometers of solid material. Is it only ice they are interested in? The sheer inaccessibility of the continent makes it the perfect site for any nation wishing to conduct ultra-secret research, from exotic physics experiments to biological warfare studies, far from the prying eyes of the rest of the world.
The ice itself harbors secrets of a different but equally profound nature: anomalies. Satellite and radar imagery has occasionally revealed highly regular, non-natural structures buried deep beneath the ice sheets. These aren't geological formations. They appear too symmetrical, too deliberate. One such widely discussed anomaly is a perfectly rectangular, massive structure detected in East Antarctica, whose size defies a natural explanation. Could these be the remnants of an ancient, perhaps pre-glacial civilization that existed when the continent was warm? Or are they the installations of the rumored secret bases? The idea of a lost pre-human civilization on Antarctica is a recurring theme. Geological evidence confirms that the continent was ice-free millions of years ago, potentially offering a blank slate for advanced evolution. The theory suggests that as the ice cap expanded rapidly, a geological event, it instantaneously encased a technologically advanced city, preserving it like a time capsule beneath the deep freeze. This narrative is often linked to the controversial Piri Reis map, an Ottoman map dating to 1513, which allegedly depicts the Antarctic coastline before it was covered by ice, a geographical feat impossible for a 16th century cartographer. While skeptics offer plausible alternative explanations for the map's features, its existence provides a tantalizing piece of evidence for a lost knowledge of the white continent's true ice-free form.
The connection between the ice and temporal anomalies is yet another layer of the mystery. Some researchers hypothesize that the South Pole is a natural or artificially induced time warp. The massive gravitational and magnetic forces, combined with the extreme cold and unique electrical properties of the ice, are theorized to create conditions for distortions in the space-time continuum. This notion gained traction, albeit speculatively, with discussions around the research conducted at various polar bases, hinting at classified experiments involving powerful particle accelerators or electromagnetic field generation aimed at exploring these temporal concepts. The sheer remoteness and lack of public accountability in these extreme latitudes make them ideal for fringe scientific pursuits that would be impossible to conduct elsewhere. The true significance of these secrets lies in the challenge they pose to the established narrative. Antarctica is portrayed as a pristine laboratory, yet its history is peppered with tales of intense military interest, hidden technology, and geographical puzzles that seem to defy known Earth history. It is a place that guards its secrets fiercely, and the intense white silence of its interior seems to amplify every whisper of a conspiracy, making the white continent the perfect location for an ultimate planetary-scale enigma. The psychology of isolation and the final mysteries.
For the few hundred people who winter over in Antarctica, the real challenge is not the cold, it is the isolation. During the 6 months of complete darkness, the continent is utterly cut off. No planes can land, the ice thickens around the bases. You are alone, separated from the rest of humanity by the most hostile environment on Earth. This solitude gives rise to a profound psychological phenomenon known as the winter over syndrome. The symptoms are well documented: depression, irritability, insomnia, and cognitive slowness, often referred to as the Antarctica stare. The complete absence of sunlight disrupts the circadian rhythm, plunging the crew into a continuous state of twilight-induced exhaustion. The monotony of the white landscape, the oppressive quiet, broken only by the shriek of the katabatic wind, and the lack of privacy in a tight-knit community create a pressure cooker environment. Scientists, trained to be rational, report strange occurrences, moments where the mind plays tricks, where the lines between the observed reality and the dreamed subconscious blur.
This psychological crucible adds a chilling dimension to the story of the Japanese base, Showa Station. While Showa is a functioning research station, its history holds one of the continent's most poignant and unsettling mysteries: the story of the Taro and Jiro dogs. In 1958, a severe blizzard forced a Japanese expedition to evacuate abruptly, leaving behind 15 Sakhalin huskies, chained outside with only a few days' worth of food. The intention was to return quickly, but the weather made it impossible. A year later, the next expedition finally managed to reach the base. They expected to find only the frozen remains of the dogs. Instead, they were met by 2 survivors, Taro and Jiro. These 2 dogs had somehow freed themselves, scavenged for food in the brutal environment, and endured the harshest Antarctic winter imaginable. While the official account celebrates their resilience, the reality of how they survived, what they ate, where they sheltered, and what they had to do to endure remains an unspoken, chilling tale of survival at the absolute limit. It is a testament to the primal nature that awakens when civilization vanishes, a question mark over what exactly transpired in that desolate, abandoned space.
The scientific frontier is where the true contemporary mysteries lie. Beyond Lake Vostok, researchers are now looking at extreme environments within the ice itself. For example, the bloodfalls in the dry valleys. This spectacular, chilling cascade pours out a rust-red plume of water onto the white ice. The color comes from iron oxides in the water, which originates from a subglacial reservoir that has been trapped beneath a glacier for possibly 2 million years. The water in this reservoir is highly saline, toxic, and utterly devoid of oxygen. Yet scientists have discovered a thriving community of unique microbes. These microorganisms metabolize sulfate and iron to survive, creating an ecosystem completely cut off from the sun's energy, the definition of a dark biosphere. This discovery has profound implications, transforming Antarctica from a frozen tomb to a potential cradle of alternative life. If life can survive in such a closed, extreme, dark environment on Earth, it dramatically increases the possibility of life existing in the subsurface oceans of Enceladus or Europa, or even in the deep geology of Mars. Antarctica is no longer just a place to study Earth's past. It is a testbed for universal biology, a cosmic mirror.
Finally, the looming shadow over all Antarctic research is the Doomsday Glacier, officially known as the Thwaites Glacier. Located in West Antarctica, Thwaites is the size of Great Britain and is considered the single greatest threat to global sea level stability. Its ice is currently flowing into the ocean at an accelerating rate. What makes it so terrifying is that it acts as a massive buttress, holding back the entire West Antarctic ice sheet. If Thwaites were to collapse entirely, a scenario experts increasingly view as a long-term inevitability, it would unlock the rest of the West Antarctic ice, leading to catastrophic multi-meter sea level rise. Scientists are now drilling directly into the grounding line, where the ice meets the seafloor, to understand the physics of its retreat. Antarctica, therefore, is the keeper of our past and the harbinger of our future. It is a world of impossible cold, of forgotten history, and of profound scientific discovery. It is the only continent on Earth that belongs to no one, and yet belongs to everyone. Its silence is a warning, its beauty a fleeting treasure. And as the ice melts, it is not just land that is revealed, but the secrets of the entire planet.
forcing humanity to confront the limits of our knowledge, the depth of our resilience, and the true cost of our collective actions on this beautiful, terrifying white world. This is the final frontier, and its story is still being written, one layer of ice at a time.
We leave the heroic age and the treaty's solemn promise of peace and step into the modern silence of the Antarctic winter. As the months pass and the sun dips below the horizon for the long, uninterrupted night, the human mind begins to fray, and the ice begins to speak of things that are not supposed to exist. The tales of Nazi bases and U-boats are often dismissed as folklore born out of Cold War paranoia, but the sheer scale of the historical effort and the persistent, almost desperate international attention on the continent suggests that Antarctica holds a value far beyond its scientific or whaling potential. The real secret may not be a hidden military base, but rather a hidden resource, far more valuable than oil or gold: geological antiquity. Imagine a landmass that has been shielded, frozen, and largely undisturbed for millions of years. This uninterrupted preservation has created unique geological circumstances. The Transantarctic Mountains, which dissect the continent, are not just peaks, they are a geological time capsule. Unlike mountain ranges in temperate zones, which are constantly subjected to erosion, the deepest Antarctic rocks have remained relatively pristine. This is where scientists seek answers to the fundamental questions of Earth's formation, magnetic field history, and even the origins of life. Underneath the West Antarctic ice sheet, geologists believe there are massive, undiscovered deposits of rare earth minerals, elements critical for modern high-tech industries, from smartphones to electric vehicles. The 1991 Madrid Protocol prohibits mining, yet the knowledge of what lies beneath the ice exerts a constant, heavy pressure on international relations. The ban is temporary, set to be reviewed in 2048, and the geopolitical maneuvering for position when that deadline approaches is already underway. Every established base, every claimed territory, is a strategic marker in a global game of patience.
But let us return to the ice itself, for it is the largest, most critical structure on the planet, and it is failing. The entire global system hinges on its stability. The Greenland ice sheet is significant, but the Antarctic ice sheet is orders of magnitude larger. Its mass is so immense that it physically depresses the continental bedrock beneath it, a concept known as isostatic depression. If the ice were removed, the land would slowly rebound, rising by hundreds of meters over thousands of years.
The current crisis focuses intensely on the Thwaites Glacier, often called the Doomsday Glacier, not for hyperbole, but for its critical role. Thwaites is the size of Florida and is melting rapidly. What makes Thwaites so vulnerable is its geometry. It is a marine terminating glacier, meaning it flows directly into the ocean, and crucially, its grounding line, the point where the ice leaves the bed and begins to float, is receding. This recession is happening on a retrograde slope, meaning as the glacier retreats, the seafloor beneath it gets deeper, exposing more of the ice front to warm ocean water. This creates a positive feedback loop. More melting leads to faster flow, which exposes more ice to melting. It's like pulling the plug on a bathtub the size of a continent. The scientific missions working on Thwaites, like the joint US-UK International Thwaites Glacier Collaboration, are some of the most complex, multinational scientific efforts in history. They use robotic submarines, autonomous underwater vehicles, AUVs, and deep drilling rigs to measure the subtle forces at play. They are effectively performing triage on a system that is showing signs of critical failure. If Thwaites and its neighboring glacier, Pine Island, collapse, they could trigger a chain reaction known as marine ice sheet instability, MISI, which could cause the entire West Antarctic ice sheet to disintegrate, leading to the previously mentioned global sea level rise of 3 to 5 meters. This is not science fiction. It is a calculated, existential risk being studied right now in the most remote place on Earth. The enigma of the ice core time machine. The scientific missions working on Thwaites, like the joint US-UK International Thwaites Glacier Collaboration, are some of the most complex, multinational scientific efforts in history. They use robotic submarines, autonomous underwater vehicles, AUVs, and deep drilling rigs to measure the subtle forces at play. They are effectively performing triage on a system that is showing signs of critical failure. If Thwaites and its neighboring glacier, Pine Island, collapse, they could trigger a chain reaction known as marine ice sheet instability, MISI, which could cause the entire West Antarctic ice sheet to disintegrate, leading to the previously mentioned global sea level rise of 3 to 5 meters. This is not science fiction. It is a calculated existential risk being studied right now in the most remote place on Earth. The enigma of the ice core time machine.
By analyzing the composition of this air, specifically the concentration of greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide and methane, scientists can reconstruct Earth's climate history with unparalleled fidelity. The Epica core, for example, revealed that in all those 800,000 years, the current concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is higher than at any point recorded in the ice. This is the irrefutable evidence that confirms the scale of human impact on the planet's atmosphere. The ice core is the most pristine, objective record of our planet's fever chart.
But these cores reveal more than climate history. They also contain cosmic dust and micrometeorites that have fallen to Earth over millennia. Analysis of these microscopic particles helps scientists understand the history of the solar system, the frequency of asteroid impacts, and even the geological composition of other celestial bodies. The ice acts as a perfect collector and preserver, protected from contamination and erosion. In the deepest parts of the ice, near the bedrock, the cores become even stranger. The ice there is subjected to such extreme pressures that it deforms, folding and flowing like a viscous liquid. This deep ice may hold entirely unknown microbial life, organisms that have adapted to survive in extreme darkness, crushing pressure, and nutrient scarcity, pushing the known limits of biology. These are the extremophiles, and their discovery in the depths of the ice sheet is yet another piece of the puzzle that links Antarctica to the potential for life elsewhere in the solar system. The Antarctic sky and the magnetic veil.
Antarctica's location at the South Pole makes it unique for viewing the heavens and studying the most powerful forces that govern our planet, magnetism. The most beautiful manifestation of this is the aurora australis, the southern lights. Caused by charged particles from the sun, the solar wind, colliding with atoms in Earth's upper atmosphere, the aurora transforms the long polar night into a mesmerizing ballet of green, red, and purple light. At the pole, the magnetic field lines converge, making the aurora a constant, dynamic spectacle that can stretch directly overhead. For the isolated scientists, it is a reminder of the vast, complex, and beautiful forces at play beyond the immediate cold. But the magnetic field at the pole is also the subject of intense study and, inevitably, speculation. The South Pole is currently positioned near a particularly weak spot in the Earth's magnetic field, the South Atlantic anomaly, which allows high levels of solar radiation to penetrate closer to the surface. This magnetic vulnerability is a key reason why NASA and other space agencies maintain critical research facilities here. Furthermore, Antarctica hosts the Amundsen-Scott South Pole Station, which is not just a hub for ice core research, but a pivotal location for astrophysics and particle detection. The high, dry, clear air and the 6 months of continuous darkness make it an ideal place for telescopes. Projects like the South Pole Telescope, SPT, search for the subtle imprints left by the Big Bang, the cosmic microwave background, CMB, helping to map the largest structures in the universe and test theories of cosmic inflation. Perhaps the most fascinating project is the IceCube Neutrino Observatory. This is not a surface building, it is a massive detector buried deep beneath the South Pole ice. It consists of thousands of sensors frozen into a cubic kilometer of ice, essentially turning the pristine ice into a massive particle detector. IceCube's purpose is to catch tiny, elusive subatomic particles called neutrinos that travel vast distances across the cosmos, providing information about the most violent and energetic events in the universe, such as distant supernovas and black holes. The location is crucial because the ice shields the detector from all other noise, allowing it to only see the extremely high-energy neutrinos coming from space. The fact that the most fundamental physics experiments are being conducted beneath miles of ice in the world's most remote location adds a profound layer to the Antarctic enigma. They are not just studying the Earth, they are using the Earth as a shield to study the deep physics of the cosmos. The unseen threat, plastic and pollution. The final mystery of Antarctica is its surprising fragility in the face of human impact. Despite being protected by the most stringent environmental treaty on Earth, the continent is not immune to global pollution. The Southern Ocean is now riddled with microplastics. These microscopic fragments, resulting from the breakdown of consumer waste elsewhere in the world, are carried by the powerful currents and concentrated in the polar waters. Scientists are finding these microplastics in the plankton, in the krill, and subsequently in the stomachs of penguins and whales. The base of the Antarctic food chain is being contaminated, introducing toxins into the pristine ecosystem and threatening the very creatures that symbolize its resilience. Furthermore, persistent organic pollutants such as DDT and PCBs, which were banned decades ago in many countries, are still being found in Antarctic snow and wildlife. These chemicals evaporate in warmer climates and are then carried on global air currents, eventually condensing and precipitating in the cold polar regions, a process known as the global distillation effect. The Antarctic acts as a final, frigid sink for the industrial waste of the entire planet. This realization fundamentally changes our perception of the continent. It is not an isolated sanctuary. It is intrinsically connected to the rest of the world's environmental systems. The fate of Antarctica is not separate from the fate of humanity. The two are intertwined. When the white silence is broken by the evidence of human toxicity, it serves as the ultimate reminder that no corner of the planet is safe from the long reach of modern civilization. Antarctica remains the ultimate paradox, a land of staggering beauty and utter desolation, a place of international peace that is the site of perpetual geopolitical tension, a frozen vault of Earth's history that holds the key to the future of the cosmos. As the ice shifts and groans under the weight of warming waters, it is forcing the human species to look deeply at itself, at its capacity for both profound exploration and devastating damage. The ultimate mystery of Antarctica may be what it reveals about us, the fragile inhabitants of the warmer world it strives to protect. We have navigated the treacherous waters of discovery, measured the fragility of the ice, and peered into the deep past preserved in the air bubbles. But as we approach the end of our journey, we must confront the final, and perhaps most disturbing, narratives surrounding the White Continent, the concepts that breach the boundaries of conventional science and enter the realm of the extraordinary. These are the theories rooted not in climate models or ice core data, but in persistent global mythologies and whispered accounts from the isolated fringes of the scientific community. The notion that Antarctica is not just a geological archive, but a nexus for advanced, hidden technology or even interdimensional travel.
The foundation for these highly speculative ideas often stems from the observations made by those operating within the continent's most intense magnetic and gravitational fields, places near the pole that exhibit properties unlike anywhere else on Earth. One concept frequently discussed in private circles relates to the presence of exotic matter or anomalous energy signatures, sometimes tied to the deep drilling efforts. The pressure cooker environment of the subglacial basins, combined with intense geothermal activity, creates conditions that are hypothetically capable of sustaining matter in unconventional states. What if some of the extreme magnetic anomalies detected years ago weren't just iron deposits, but something altogether more complex?
This leads us back to the persistent fascination with Antarctic UFOs and the concept of a temporal anomaly. The Nazi myth is the simplest expression of this, but modern claims extend the idea significantly. Some theorists posit that the intense convergence of the planet's magnetic field lines at the pole, coupled with the unique density of the ice mass, creates a natural or artificially enhanced stargate or vortex. The idea suggests that certain locations in Antarctica, perhaps the same remote, high-altitude plateaus favored by early explorers and current deep field bases, are areas where the space-time fabric is unusually pliable.
The most famous, albeit entirely unsubstantiated claim in this vein involves the notion of a time portal. In 2012, a widespread rumor circulated among alternative research groups alleged that a joint US-European research team detected a powerful oscillating energy vortex over the pole, which they believed to be a brief temporary opening into another time or dimension. Though dismissed by official channels, these stories gain currency because they tap into a profound human desire to believe that the last unexplored corner of the world holds the key to transcending our known reality. Why else would global powers invest so heavily in such a hostile, economically unproductive landmass? For those who believe, the answer is simple. They are guarding a secret that transcends nationality and resource scarcity.
We must also consider the potential for bioengineering and cryogenic secrets. The sheer mass of the ice sheet contains trapped life forms that have been in suspended animation for hundreds of thousands of years. As the ice melts, these ancient microbes and viruses are being slowly released. While most are harmless, the release of truly ancient, unknown pathogens, the paleovirome, represents a theoretical biological risk that is unique to the polar regions. But the secret could also be positive. Scientists are actively studying extremophiles and organisms trapped in the ice for their unique biological mechanisms. The genes that allow a bacterium to survive in a high salinity, zero oxygen environment beneath 5 kilometers of ice are genetic codes for ultimate resilience. These discoveries could revolutionize medicine, agriculture, and biotechnology, providing solutions for survival in space or in increasingly difficult environments on Earth. The genetic blueprint for life's ultimate adaptation is literally frozen solid beneath us. The architecture of research and power. To understand the modern reality of Antarctica, we must look at the infrastructure dedicated to its surveillance and study. The research bases themselves are architectural wonders and symbols of global power projection.
Take the South Pole Station, Amundsen Scott. Built on a continuously shifting ice sheet, the main structure, the elevated station, is designed to be jacked up every year to prevent it from being buried by accumulating snow. It is a self-contained, isolated civilization, engineered to endure the utter collapse of the outside world during the winter over period. This station is more technologically equipped than many small cities, hosting the astrophysical experiments and the deepest ice core labs. It is a monument to human ingenuity, but also a stark reminder of the cost of accessing these secrets. And then there is the Dome C, or Concordia Station, a French-Italian collaboration located on the high East Antarctic Plateau. This is considered one of the most isolated places on Earth, even more remote than the South Pole itself. The atmosphere is so thin, dry, and cold that scientists here literally train astronauts for missions to Mars. They study the physiological and psychological effects of total isolation and extreme cold, treating the base as a genuine simulation of a Martian habitat. When you consider the vast resources and scientific focus applied here, it becomes clear that Antarctica is not just a scientific outpost, it is the Earth's terrestrial bridgehead to the stars. The geopolitical tension, despite the treaty, is always bubbling beneath the surface. China's rapid expansion of its Antarctic presence, including its latest and most ambitious station, Qinling Station on Ross Island, signals a clear intent to move beyond passive research. These new, permanent, high-tech stations are seen by established treaty signatories as potential dual-use facilities, capable of conducting deep-sea, satellite, and intelligence surveillance, challenging the historical dominance of the US, UK, and Russia. The ice may be frozen, but the international political atmosphere over it is heating up. The final judgment, a call to action. Antarctica forces us to face our own vulnerability and the true meaning of responsibility. The continent's story is a tragedy in 3 acts: the heroic age of reckless, glorious ambition, the treaty age of peaceful, cautious cooperation, and the climate age of existential crisis. We stand today at the precipice of the 3rd act. The ice sheet is not a distant, static geological feature. It is an active player in human destiny. Its melt pulse sends a shiver through the global climate system. The most critical takeaway from the White Continent is this: Antarctica is the canary in the coal mine for the entire planet. When the massive West Antarctic ice sheet begins its irreversible retreat, it will not only rewrite the world's coastlines, but it will fundamentally alter the delicate balance of the ocean currents, including the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, AMOC. The massive influx of fresh, cold meltwater into the ocean is predicted to slow or collapse these crucial currents, which distribute heat around the globe. This could plunge parts of the northern hemisphere, paradoxically, into much colder, more chaotic weather patterns, even as the global average temperature rises.
The profound silence and scale of Antarctica demand not just our awe, but our action. Every fossil fuel burned, every forest cut down, transmits a silent echo to the furthest reach of the South Pole, manifesting as another crack in the Thwaites Glacier, another influx of warm water eroding the grounding line. The White Continent is the closest thing Earth has to an ethical proving ground. It exists without permanent habitation, without indigenous claims, and without economic exploitation, for now. It is a legacy left to us by previous generations who, despite their conflicts, chose to protect this place for science and peace.
In conclusion, Antarctica, the land of extremes, remains the planet's ultimate enigma. It is the place where the deepest past of our world is preserved, and where the most immediate future of humanity is being decided. It guards secrets of vanished civilizations and exotic physics, while simultaneously holding the key to a global crisis. It is a world of impossible contradictions, the driest desert that holds the most water, a realm of peace that is a bastion of strategic importance, a geological fossil that is the engine of global climate change. The explorers of the heroic age sought glory in its conquest. Today's scientists seek truth in its preservation. But both endeavors reveal the same fundamental reality. Humanity's destiny is inextricably linked to the fate of the ice. The true voyage of discovery is not about reaching the pole. It is about listening to the quiet, terrifying message the White Continent is sending us.
We are watching the Earth's refrigerator fail. The time for passive observation is over. The secrets of Antarctica are being revealed. Most important truth the White Continent holds for us all. The final decision rests not with the ice, but with us.